Welcome back, everybody. As you probably guessed from the title of the video, we're going over this optic right here. This is the Holosun Primary Arms. It's a partnership between the two of them. 509 with ACSS Vulcan reticle in there. So the reticle, in my opinion, is one of the most important things about this optic. The other thing that's very important about it, in my opinion, again, is that it is a fully enclosed emitter, meaning that no dirt, debris, water, etc. can get in there. And then, of course, it is nitrogen purged. So that way it won't fog up on you. So what we're going to do today is sort of talk about the optic itself, the features of it. We'll do some testing with it to test its durability, and then at the end, I suppose we'll walk you through what I think of it overall. But before we start doing all of those sorts of things, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that sponsor is Gunspot. For folks that haven't used them, it is an online auction website. It's very easy to make an account if you haven't already done so. And when you do that, you can sell stuff, whether it be, for instance, if you had a spare Glock 19 MOS sitting around, you could post it up for sale there, and then folks can bid on it, and whoever bids the highest gets it, and that's sort of how it works. Of course, you can sell guns on there, you can sell optics on there, you can sell lights, lasers, NFA items, machine guns, etc. All of that stuff you can sell over there at Gunspot and not have to worry about getting censored on social media, so thanks to them for that. Now let's take a look at this thing. As y'all can see from looking at it from this angle, here is where we adjust our brightness. Obviously, plus increases the brightness. There's 12 different daylight bright settings, and it is also night vision compatible. You can see there, that's where we torque it onto our plate. Speaking of that, right now it comes with two different plates. So basically we have our Glock MOS plate. So as you guys see it there, it sits nice and low, and you can get your co-witness with your suppressor sight or optics sights. And then over here we have our battery compartment. Speaking of battery, the battery life on this one is 20,000 hours. However, it does have the shake awake technology. So basically if you leave it, sitting on your nightstand, it will turn off, but as soon as the smallest amount of movement hits it, it will turn right back on. So the battery life is really probably longer than that for most folks. Of course, if you're concealed carrying it, just the natural movement of your body will have it on the entire time. Our windage and elevation adjustments are 1 MOA, and you guys can see there, that is where we adjust our elevation right in front of the rear sight. You guys can see our window there if we can, and there is the reticle itself. So let's talk about that reticle. Because of course my camera is very close to it, a couple inches away, you can see the entire outer circle, and it's not going to focus, I get that, but you also see the chevron in there. So with that, the chevron can be used as a BDC type of reticle, and you guys can see all the different calibers that it's compatible with and where you need to zero it and all those sorts of things here on your screen. But that outer ring is the most important part of the reticle, in my opinion. Of course, having the infinitely small aiming chevron is nice. You don't have to worry about dot size, but that outer circle, if you are off when you present the firearm, that you will just see the edge of it here. I should be rolling in some screenshots that you guys can see, and your brain, without thinking, just instinctively automatically corrects it and puts you back where you need to be. And when I say automatically, trust me, you don't think about it. I've handed this system primarily on the 509 that we've used in the past to, at least 15 people, many of whom are not experienced shooters at all, never mind experience with a red dot, people who would typically 90% of the time miss the dot, and none of them had any issue finding it because that circle just tells your brain where you need to move it to see that chevron. We just mentioned that this here is with the MOS plate. Now, Primary Arms does also offer this with a Holosun 507 plate, and that plate is going to be available for any type of major optics mounting system out there. You guys look at Walthers, SIGs, Smith & Wesson, Glock, etc. If you want to go with that plate, again, it's just a lot of other options, but the MOS, of course, is one of the most popular systems in the country. Definitely not the best out there, in my opinion, but hey, what do I know? But it is available with that 507 mount, so that way, if you guys want to run it on any of the other pistols out there, it will be compatible with your optics cut system. That said, this one here, the Holosun 509 is ACSS version rather, is slightly different in terms of dimensions versus the 509T. It's just a touch bigger, and if you have a slide that is milled for a 509, it may or may not work. With some of them out there, depending on the tolerances, it can, but just know that it is not the exact same. So make the plans accordingly with what you have and what you plan to mount it on. One other difference with this optic versus the 509T is that the actual housing of this is made out of aluminum rather than titanium. However, the weight difference is relatively insignificant. It weighs in right at 2 ounces, so nothing that you really have to worry about. Additionally, before we start beating on it, I should note that the glass is very clear. If you're somebody who doesn't like a blue tint, you're just not going to see it with this optic. So if that is you, we're good to go. Now we're going to just do some one-handed slide racks here off of our wood just to kind of test it, see how it is. Keep in mind we're using the MOS system, which is not the strongest, but I think it'll be okay. We shall see. And everything looks just fine on there with the exception of my fingerprint. Took a chunk of wood out that time and it still seems to be zeroed. Now I'm going to put it round on target. Hopefully it's at 35 yards. So see if we can hit it. And we hit it just fine. Let's see how it holds up to some drop tests. Now we're going to drop this thing and see how it does. During my last drop test, I initially dropped it on steel and people got mad. I don't know why. So they said they wanted to see something softer before that. So we'll drop it on sand. We have 15 rounds here in the mag, Stream White TLR on there rather. I'm 6 feet tall. I'll be dropping it from my standard shoulder height and just onto some dirt. I doubt that did anything. It sure didn't. Everything looks good to go. Knock a little bit of that dirt off, but the glass is good, everything's good. And I haven't mentioned before, but it does have the solar backup on there as well up on top. So that way, really, it will give you even more battery life than what they're quoting. Now we're gonna drop it here onto our shootsteel.com plate. This is about worst case scenario possible, a direct hit, loaded, and straight onto it from this high up. Who drops their gun like this? Anyway, it's all about science. All right, everything looks good. Hopefully you guys will be able to see this. We definitely had that dent right there and that nick in the aluminum, but the glass is perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And anybody who's watched this channel before knows that kills most optics. The vast majority of open emitter optics will die right there, with the exception of the RMR in my testing. Drop it again. All right, that was a really solid hit. Hopefully you guys saw that there in the camera. And so we had our initial hit there. And now we have our second hit. And the glass is perfect. I'm gonna drop it one more time. But again, this is done better than really everything with the exception of the RMR that I've tested here on the channel in terms of durability. Another nasty hit. Nasty, nasty. That one there. Extended our scuff line there all the way across. Hopefully you guys can see that with the camera settings. Now we'll just check zero real quick. Obviously I moved a little bit closer to that target. And at this point it's probably, what, 20 yards away? Let's see. Zero, still good. While the range is still hot, I sort of want to walk you through what you see here when you're actually the user with the gun. So obviously I'm completely ignoring my backup sights to use with the optic. And at this, say I was up here, right? At this point, I see the entire circle. I can see the circle all the way edge to edge with the chevron. But as soon as I press out, and now my chevron is right on the target, center of that chest, and I absolutely see no circle. Now I brought the chevron off about 12 inches, maybe 6 inches rather, to the right, and I can see both the chevron and the circle on the left side here. And again, the reason most people miss the dot is because they miss it high and don't grip really enough with their pinky. So if I'm high, I see the bottom of the circle and the chevron now. As I bring it down, basically right when I'm at the head at this distance, I can barely see the bottom of the chevron. If I put it right in the center of the chest of the target, again, it's gone. And at this point, we can engage. Another thing it helps with is during recoil, as you're tracking that slide, sometimes the dot gets lost there. Again, it helps you bring it right back down to a nice consistent point where you can continuously get hits. At this point in the video, I think we've covered almost everything that is important about this red dot here, with the exception of one thing, and that is going to be price point. So right now, this one's coming in at $449. As of when I'm making this video, there's been a couple shipments of these that have come in and gone out to the market, and lots of folks have been using them with lots of feedback out there. And unfortunately, as soon as a lot comes in, or when it goes up for pre-order, right now they're just selling out. So unfortunately, they're relatively tough to get right now, and the reason for that is simply because it is, in my opinion, an excellent system. Right now, this is the most durable red dot I've tested to date here on the channel, and we've tested a lot of them. 3 drop test shoulder height onto steel direct hits. Hard to really complain about that. One of them might have hit on the front side a little bit. Regardless, it's done perfect. The glass is perfect. Everything is fine. I personally have over 400 rounds through this particular optic, which isn't a ton, but I know lots of people that also have more than that, and I've heard of no issues at all with any sort of like flickering or anything like that of the reticle. And right now, as a exactly like I said with the 509, if you guys have watched that with ACSS, I said that typically I do not carry with red dots on my pistols yet. That may change in the future. However, if I was going to carry with one or use one for home defense, etc., without a question, 100%, it would be the ACSS Vulcan reticle, simply because there's so many situations that are, I guess, dynamic that can happen in a gunfight, that reticle really is sort of a fail-safe in that regard. You know, a lot of folks will get really good at drawing on a flat range standing, presenting the dot and getting it every time. However, in the real world, if you get knocked down, if you're on your back, if you have to shoot around a corner, if you're moving, whatever the case may be, that ACSS reticle really does keep everything where you want it to be, and is super, super fast to get aligned if for whatever reason you are not aligned as you present. And red dots, just for folks that don't know, on pistols, one of the things that they do really help with is you learning what you're doing wrong. So unlike with your iron sights, you can very easily see the movement of the dot, and as you know, if your trigger input is jacked up or whatever the case may be, the red dot tells you, or in this case the chevron tells you, very, very quickly. So they're valuable as a training tool as well. I assume in the future that red dots on pistols is going to be just like red dots on rifles, and in my opinion, products like this are how we're going to get there. With that, if you guys have any questions about the optic, anything like that, you can always post down below in the comment section. If you're looking for any other ACSS optics, over at primaryarms.com, code Mr. Guns and Gear will get you a free scope mount if you're buying a scope, or a free anti-reflective device if you're buying a prism optic. With this one, it gets you free shipping. That's it, because you can't really, you know, get a free mount or anything like that with this one. So there is that. Again, any questions, post them down below. You can also post over at my social media that you see here on your screen. Additionally, if you've subscribed to the channel, I truly appreciate it. If you haven't and you like this type of video, definitely hit the subscribe button. This is kind of a bread and butter video for what we do here. And if you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week and you are subscribed, you may hit the notification bell, sign up for my email here. This email goes out at most once a month, sometimes every other month. And basically it just has all of the videos that I've put up since the previous email, so that way there's no giant social media censoring your eyes from my content that I put up. So it goes VFR from me to you. Additionally, if this thing is in stock or it goes on sale, anything like that, of course we'll post it up on social media, but it'll also go out in my daily deals email. It generally contains 6 or 7 of the best deals that I find around the internet, whether it be on ammo, optics, guns, etc. Any of that sort of stuff that you guys like. If it's in the email, it's the cheapest that I know of at that time when I send it out. So that way it saves you guys some time, because you don't have to look for it, and also saves you some money, because again, I've looked around. If it's in the email, it's the cheapest I know of. So there is that. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, you can post them down below. I think I said that for the 3rd time, but with that, we'll close the video out. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.